Hello, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to our monthly update on the Miami real estate market, residential, that is. My name is Jason Smith with the Keller Williams Capital office here in Miami, Coral Gables. That's the Jason Smith Showcase team. Been practicing real estate here for about 22 years in Miami, and I'm going to break down what we're seeing in terms of the Miami residential real estate market for the last 30 days. So thank you for tuning into this, and hope you'll find it to be helpful if you're a buyer or potential seller in the Miami area, greater Miami-Dade. So let me go right here and check into the trend graphics. Do you see my screen, Zyrel and Geraldine?
Yes, we do.
Thank you very much. Okay, so looking over here, I'm going to break it down into the 1 to 2 million single family range, so we can compare apples to apples in different parts of Miami. So first of all, we'll do an overview, a general overview of Miami-Dade County, single family, $1 to $2 million. So what do we have here? The latest data is February of 2023 on the lower right. It shows that we had 1,269 available homes for sale, single family in Dade County, between $1 and $2 million. Now, if you look, the previous months is about the same. Then you see over here, June of 2022, that's when it started to increase the amount of sellers that were out there. Why is that? That coincides with when the interest rate started to go up. You had the big interest rate announcement in June of 2022. And correspondingly, immediately, you saw the increase in sellers wanted to say, okay, this is the time that the market has shifted in terms of the psychology of the market from a seller advantage to a buyer advantage. And it became a self-fulfilling prophecy, because all of a sudden, after June, you saw many more sellers come on the market, right? Thereby putting downward pricing pressure, one would imagine. Let's go and see if that's accurate. Before that, you saw 400, 500 homes for sale, lots of consumption here. The red line is pending contracts that went under contract. The solid green is one closings that took place on each of those months. And again, the light green is for sale. So now let's take a look. So you know, a balanced market where neither the seller nor the buyer has advantage is 6 months of inventory. So let's see, if we were to go to the other screen, months of inventory for all of Dade County, single family, 1 to 2 million. What has it been looking like? So in February 2023, you had 7.3 months of inventory. So slight buyer advantage, and then the month before that, in January, right after the holidays, 10.4 months. So those 2 months had a buyer advantage. So prices slightly going down based on buyer advantage, buyer's market. Now, if we look, comparing that, that's why they call this trend graphics, comparing that 8.1. So it's been a steady climb in the months of inventory. So it was a seller advantage up until September of 2022. And it was extreme seller advantage. If you go back to December of 2021, extreme seller with 1.8 months, extreme seller advantage, 2.3 months. And that's what we saw throughout COVID in many different price points. So it's something to consider. If you're a seller and you're looking to get your property on the market, question to ask yourself, are you going to get the same amount of money for your property now in February or March 2023 as you would have gotten for it in February or March of 2022? Absolutely not. You wouldn't, because you've seen that it was a complete seller advantage at that point. It's no longer the same market that we're in. Affordability is less. Not to say that one shouldn't buy. I'm just saying that if one is looking to put a property on the market, they've got to be mindful of the trend, the pricing trend, and the seasonality. You're right. Right now we're in peak season for single family, which is pretty much from now until late June. So it's a really critical 2-3 months ahead. If you're a single family seller right now here in Miami, if you want to take advantage of the seasonality before hurricane season sets in, July, August type of thing, not to mention the school year and people wanting to relocate before school starts back up in late August. So that's what we have here for the general 1 to 2 million range, but slight buyer advantage just passed. Now let's take a look at 2 to 3 million. What is that looking like in overall Miami-Dade County single family homes? 7.3 and 10.4 last 2 months. Would you imagine that you're going to have higher inventory levels and higher months of inventory, or less? I think we'd all agree that one would imagine you're going to have higher levels of inventory and higher months on market in the higher price points where there's less buyers. And that's exactly what we see. We see 13.9 months, definitely a buyer's advantage. The previous month was 14.5 months. And it was still, if you go back again, early 2022 and throughout 2020, most of 2020, you saw definitely in the seller advantage range, 3 months, 2 months, that type of thing. Now let's go into some neighborhoods, some different neighborhoods, not overall Miami-Dade County, still keeping it in the single family range. Let's go to Coconut Grove, for instance. Okay, and we'll do 1 to 2 million like we did before. We'll start off with 1 to 2. Hope everyone is enjoying their spring up there. It's been a great spring here in Miami with all the events. We've had the Coconut Grove Arts Festival, the boat show, Art Basel, tennis tournament is coming up here in Miami. All kinds of activities. Been beautiful weather. So Miami is a beautiful place to visit. We'd love to have you come down here. No state income tax. Some of the things that are driving our market, right? So let's take a look at Coconut Grove, which is a very popular. It's just south of downtown Miami, on the coast. Lots of walkability cafes, restaurants, lots of development going in there, lots of condo development. Let's see what it looks like in the single family in Coconut Grove, just south of downtown Miami, East Dade County, by the water, by Biscayne Bay. That comes out to seller advantage, decided seller advantage. It looks like early 2021, right? In 2020, 2 months of inventory, 1.5 months of inventory. So total seller advantage in Coconut Grove. If you're trying to get a single family home between 1 and 2, what this tells me as an agent, 22 years in the business, is that you're going to need to come in at asking price or above if you want your offer to win, because there will be multiple offers in this type of an environment. 1.5 to 2 months of inventory. Now let's take a look at 2 to 3 million in Coconut Grove, single family. As one would expect, you've got fewer buyers in the 2 to 3 million range, and therefore you've got a little bit more room if you're making an offer. It's still a seller advantage at 2.5 months and 4.4 months. Sorry, 2.5 and 4 months in January just passed and February just passed. So it's still a seller advantage, but not quite as much as it was in the 1 to 2 million range. Now let's take a look at Coral Gables, which is another, it's almost like a sister city, if you will, to Coconut Grove. Similar price points, very attractive area here in East Dade County, lots of history, some beautiful historical homes, Old Spanish, 1930s, very well manicured city, very well sought after, planned communities. So we'll go to 1 to 2 million, single family in Coral Gables instead of Coconut Grove. What does it tell us? It tells us that it's a seller advantage still, 2 months, 2.1 months last month in February. The month before that in January was 4.9 months. So seller advantage, seller advantage. There was a blip in September. You had a buyer advantage, but pretty much it remains a seller advantage, not what it was in early 22. If you look here in February 22 and March 22, you got less than 1 month, not 8 months. It's 0.8 months, 0.4 months of inventory. So less than 1 month of inventory back then. So you can see why there was multiple offers. I remember I had a buyer looking in the 2 to 3 million range, and we were looking for quite a while in 2020 and 2021, because every single listing that we came across that our buyers liked, there was multiple offers, and you had to go in at asking or above to win it. And that was really the phrase, do you want to win this listing? That's not where we are now necessarily, given the months of inventory, which is really the determiner of if you're going to have to compete as a buyer or not. So here, if you're looking in the 1 to 2 million range, it's still a seller advantage. Again, not what it was with half a month of inventory in March 2022, but still seller advantage. What would it look like in Coral Gables if you're in the 2 to 3 million range? as one would expect, you're going to have more inventory. So in the 2 to 3 million range in Coral Gables, it's a buyer advantage in February just passed. You had slight seller advantage in January. December, you had 15, so definite buyer advantage in the holidays, November, buyer advantage back in October as well. So that's climbed. And then I'd like to contrast that for a second. So you're seeing 9.7 months of inventory in the Gables for 2 to 3 million. What does it look like in Coconut Grove? Coconut Grove is 4 months of inventory, seller. So what we're seeing here is that Coconut Grove is more of a seller's market right now in the 2 to 3 million range than is Coral Gables. Interesting. So good information there. If you're looking, comparing Coral Gables, Coconut Grove, if you're looking to purchase or if you're looking to sell, let's see what condominiums look like in those areas. So just condo, no single family. Let's go back to Coconut Grove. Let's go to 1 to 2 million range. So condominiums in Coconut Grove, 1 to 2 million. Your seller advantage. Many people downsizing, many people coming from New York and other areas of the country looking for a condo, perhaps with a nice view. They're going to be competing with other buyers at 2 months of inventory. So what does it look like if you go step it up a little bit to the 2 to 3 million range in Coconut Grove? What would that month's of inventory look like? So, wow, still hot. So the 2 to 3 million buyers are going to be competing. And what does that look like in terms of actual inventory? So you're seeing here, there's not really a great data pool right there in the 2 to 3 million range versus the 1 to 2. Let's see what the 1 to 2 million looks like for condo in the Grove. So there you see more what the inventory levels have looked like in Coconut Grove between 1 and 2 million. Now let's go to, we have a listing over on Key Biscayne. It's a waterfront listing, beautiful 88 feet on the water, single family. So if we were to go to Key Biscayne, let's take a look at what that looks like. Single family. Okay, and let's say this one is priced at 9.5. So I'm going to say 5 million to and above. Let's say 5 to 10. 5 to 10 in Key Biscayne, and this is waterfront. So waterfront, yes. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's condo. We want single family. Okay, so single family, you're not seeing much at all in the 5 to 10 million on Key Biscayne, which makes sense because there's only one listing on the water in Key Biscayne, which is a single family for less than 10 million. And that's our listing over at 151 Cape Florida Drive. Let's see what that shows you here that it's definitely a seller advantage. And that's why we're getting lots of showings. And we've had 2 offers so far on that listing. Let's see what it would look like if we were to up it from 10 million and higher. Let's say 10 to 20. What would we see? Single family, waterfront, Key Biscayne. Even there, 10 to 20 million, single family on the water in Key Biscayne, it's still a slight seller advantage for September through September through December. And then January and February, 3 months down to 2 months. So Key Biscayne is a hot area, single family waterfront. So that tells you a little bit about that. I will tell you that we just some anecdotal stories. Although it's seller advantage in many areas, they are wary of the price, and buyers are wary of the price, and you'll see multiple offers coming in on properties that are well priced versus what has sold and what's available. The aspirational pricing that we saw throughout COVID 2020 and 2021, even 2022, if you just name your price put it there and you'll probably sell it. That's not the environment that we're in now. It's not such a frenzied environment. We just had a listing that did expire. We had it on the market for about 4 months. I would have listed it a little bit less, just right under 3 million, but our seller decided to list it at 3.4 and it didn't sell. So yes, we were getting showings, but there was no urgency, and the listing just starts to age on the market. So even in Coconut Grove hot sellers market, if you don't have it priced so that people see the value and they don't want to risk losing it to someone else, you can still get expired listings. And we're seeing a lot of expired listings in this market. So it's a really peculiar market. Several messages. Yes, things are still moving if you're Coconut Grove, especially single family, but it's not a guarantee that it sells if one doesn't price it so that it's in line with what things have been selling at and what the competition is at. So hopefully that's helpful information to you. Cyril, would you mind showing us the mortgage slide with some just general information on the mortgage rates? Thank you very much. So basically, this is the mortgage rates historically from 1972 to 2022. So we look here and we see the 3.8% interest rate in 2022, even lower. We saw as low as say 2.7 for a 30-year fixed in the 2022, 2021. Now you're seeing that it's closer to 7% or so, and the Fed is indicating that they'll keep increasing the interest rates, whatever it takes to slow down inflation. So, which gives some people pause. But then if you look at putting things in perspective, the average over the last 50 years since 72, it's been 7.81 has been the average interest rate over the last 50 years, which is higher than what we have today. So if you want to put things in perspective, it's still a very good interest rate environment compared to what we've, compared to other times. Like you look back here in 1981, 1980, 81, 16.63% interest rate. Deals were still getting done. So pretty much it's the new normal right now. I think buyers, what I'm seeing out in the field is that buyers have come to accept, okay, this is the new normal, these interest rates of 6% to 7%, the new normal. Let's go ahead. We're not going to see 3% anytime again soon. And that's from Gary Keller, the founder and chairman of Keller Williams. He doesn't think, based on his 40-year history in the business, that we'll be seeing anything like 3% in the near future. So it's interesting to see that. And one other thing, if we look at the Zyrel, the rent versus own slide. So this here, for some people who might be saying, you know what, I would rather rent than own. A great phrase that I've heard recently is like, if you're renting, you're paying 100% interest, right? Would you rather pay 100% interest by not owning and not gaining equity, or would you rather pay the 7% interest by participating in today's mortgage market? And this is just a really great comparison of renting versus owning. Let's say you bought in 2012, you rented and invested, and you invested $22,700. If you keep going here, you look down and you see the ultimate net worth at the end of, say, 10 or 11 years. The person who rented and invested, they have $106,229. The person who rented and did 10% investing, they had a net worth of $66,418, versus the person who owned and gained equity, they had an average net worth of $234,000. The clear message being that even in the interest rate environment of 7% or whatever we might be at now, you're better off owning than renting, and you've got more selection these days than you would have had otherwise. So that's my take on the market for right now. I'll be back next month just to give you more information, more data, so we can, if you got any questions that you'd like, any zip codes, any price ranges that you'd like to discuss next time, I'd be happy to cover that on our next call in April. So we'll be talking about March's data. So hopefully this is helpful to you. My name is Jason Smith. Again, I'm with the Keller Williams Capital Realty. I serve Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, which is in Miami, greater Miami-Dade. 22 years experience. We've got a great team here to help you. My number is 786, as you can see here on the screen behind me, 326-8115. You can reach me at jason@jasonsmithshowcase.com is the email address. So I hope you're having a great March, folks, great spring. Look forward to seeing you again in April. Take care, everybody. Thanks.